We've been talking so much about the idea from the White House that this would be a surgical limited strike, like they could bring these ships into the Mediterranean, start lobbing these missiles into Syria, and that would be it. The message would be sent. But there are many variables here which can change that equation, and the very first one that you have to talk about, of course, is the reaction.
Now, what Syria itself will do, it is very clear that Syria will respond militarily and very strongly diplomatically. But I think, Tom, what's most important is that Syria has three very strong allies in the form of Russia, China, and Iran. They provide support to Syria and have for quite some time. We would anticipate that that support would continue, and at the end of this strike, Syria may come out stronger than it is before the strike.
They could actually bolster their support,
Absolutely.
send them more weapons, more support, more everything, and they'd have the pretext to do so, saying you were just attacked by a superpower. Of course we can send you more things.
Absolutely correct. Without the implementation of a no-fly zone, that would occur.
That would be an astonishing development. That would be nothing that the United States would want, obviously. Let's get rid of that now and talk a little bit more about the country itself right now. We know that all these insurgent groups are there right now. They are fractured there from many different places. This is another question. What happens with the insurgent reaction if, in fact, an attack takes place? What are the possibilities?
I think it's fair to assume that Assad is not going to capitulate. He's not going to give up. What we can also assume is that Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah, making up the insurgents within Syria, will increase in strength, will gain some momentum. And again, the sad irony of this is that the United States may contribute to the insurgent success in Syria as a result of this strike.
And not just insurgents that we might have something in common with, but in truth, what we're talking about here is if Assad were to fall, which is not the goal right now, even though it may be the long-term goal, yes, the United States military could help put terrorist groups in charge of an entire nation. That's one of the real concerns here. And let's talk about one last area here, General, which I think is pretty important, and that is the question of the unknowns. You go into any battle, you launch anything like this, and simply there are going to be things that go wrong, whether or not it's technological or in an intelligence sense. Explain that.
Well, Tom, the sad part is that as a career intelligence officer, the intelligence sometimes can be wrong. So the United States and its coalition partners, assuming there are coalition partners, might strike a target that isn't what it was supposed to be. There might be women and children inside a facility that is now being taken out. And the downside of that would be horrible. The United States would then be accused of contributing to this humanitarian disaster.
And there could be, or there could be diplomats from China or from Russia. We could hit them and widen the whole conflict.
And we unfortunately have experience in that as well in Belgrade in 1999 in Operation Allied Force.
You had a great description for this earlier. You said when it comes to matters like this, you do get to start them.
You don't get to finish them. The on button belongs to you when you begin. You transfer possession of the off button to your opponent once you begin this fight.